You ever notice how they freak out? People in power, confused, wondering how you know. Oh wow, every secret they tried, every hidden move shattered. They never wanted this. Leaked. Did they? Every whisper they guarded, every code they trusted, broken, and you're just standing there, calm, unshaken, unstoppable. Damn, they panic, scramble, question themselves, wondering, how is this happening? Oh, the irony, it's delicious. Their towers of power, crumbling, silently, right before your eyes. Think about it. Every step they took, oh wow. Every decision, exposed. Every mask, slipping. Yeah. And the best part? They don't even see it coming. The storm, the awareness, the unstoppable truth. And it's in your hands. They believed control. Yeah, could blind the world. But they forgot one thing. You see everything. Every secret, every manipulation, every hidden agenda. Gone. Power trembles when the blind suddenly see. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? Watching them scramble. The ones who thought control was theirs, who believed secrets were chains, and that nobody could break them. They built towers of influence draped in silence, confident that no eyes could pierce the darkness. And yet, here you are, walking through the shadows they never mapped. Every whisper they guarded, every locked door, every invisible thread they pulled, they underestimated you. Yeah, they thought information could be caged, that strategy and secrecy were armor, that manipulation and misdirection would blind anyone with the audacity to look too closely. Oh, how wrong they were. You didn't stumble, you didn't guess, you observed, you listened. You noticed the patterns in their hesitation, the tremors behind their smiles, the cracks in their careful facades. And slowly, very slowly, the truth unfolded before you. Piece by piece, unrelenting. They panic now. It's written all over their faces. The poised, calculated masks of power slip under the weight of realization. How do they know? The question hangs in the air, trembling like an unspoken accusation. Every advisor, every ally, every silent observer. Yeah, they all feel it. That tension, the fear that knowledge, once contained, has escaped. And who released it? You. Not by chance, not by accident, but because you refuse to be blind, because your mind is disciplined, because your patience is sharper than the sharpest blade they never saw coming. Wow, the irony is exquisite. They control systems, people, decisions, even the flow of information, and yet they are powerless against awareness, against someone who watches without distraction, someone who listens without judgment, someone who understands. And the best part? They don't know you yet. They don't realize the depth of observation. They think it's random, accidental, harmless. No. It's everything but harmless. It is inevitability in motion. It is the mirror reflecting what they never wanted to see. Their own vulnerability. Oh, the chaos is delicious. Not because you delight in their fear, but because the truth cannot be contained. And that truth is simple. They never wanted this to leak. They built walls of secrecy to shield themselves from the world. And yet, here you stand, unwavering, eyes wide, mind sharp, heart steady. You are the leak they feared. You are the quiet storm they never trained for. And in their confusion, in their panic, in their disbelief, they see it. Someone finally knows. And now, the question lingers, slicing through the air like a knife. What happens when their secrets aren't secrets anymore? When the invisible becomes visible, fear becomes a language everyone speaks. Oh, you see it, don't you? The way their composure fractures under the weight of what they never expected. Every glance, every hesitation, every hurried word is a confession. They're confused, scrambling to find the pattern, the source, the weakness. But there is none. Not here. Not in you. Not in the way you move through their shadows, picking apart what they thought untouchable. Yeah, it's relentless. You don't pause. You don't stumble. You observe. And each observation sharpens you, hones you, makes the unseen visible. They thought information was power. They thought knowledge could be contained. And yet every secret, every hidden strategy, every guarded agenda, they underestimated the force of awareness. The moment you saw it, you became unstoppable. Every subtle signal becomes a roadmap. Every whispered conversation, a blueprint. Every glance behind closed doors, a revelation. And now, they feel it. Anxiety crawling along their spine, doubt poisoning their thoughts. Who else knows? How did this happen? How could someone see what was meant to remain unseen? And in the stillness of their panic, a chilling realization: it is not a mistake. It was never random. It was preparation, discipline, precision. Oh, the beauty of inevitability. The way the pieces fall into place without a sound, without a scream. They try to trace it, to block it, to anticipate the next move, but they fail. Every wall they built to guard themselves becomes transparent under your gaze. Every mask slips, every carefully hidden motive lays bare, and they're powerless. Not because of what you've taken, but because of what they cannot hide from themselves. Nah, they cannot comprehend it. Not fully. The brilliance isn't just in what you know. The brilliance is in how you become the storm that reveals it. You move quietly, but the echoes of your awareness shake the foundations they trusted. Every miscalculation they made now screams in their faces. Every attempt to manipulate reality collapses under the weight of your insight. And still, you do not strike. You simply exist. A force of clarity they cannot touch, cannot contain. Wow, it is intoxicating. The power of seeing clearly when the world around you thrives on blindness. The satisfaction is not cruelty, it is justice. Not revenge, it is truth. And truth is unstoppable. They never wanted this knowledge to leak, but it has. And it is not just leaked, it is known, internalized, felt. And in that knowledge lies chaos. They sense it in the way their own minds betray them. The plans they trusted, the structures they built, the alliances they thought were secure, crumbling, slowly, painfully, inevitably. Every misstep they make now echoes in your favor. Every doubt becomes a wedge, every confusion a weapon you did not even raise. And as they flounder, grasping at shadows, one question lingers in the silent chaos. And when the storm hits, can they survive the truth? Power fears the mirror more than the sword. Huh? Oh, they see it now. That gleam in your eye, the calm in your stride, the certainty in your presence. Every move they make to conceal, every hurried meeting, every desperate attempt at control, it falters under the weight of your awareness. They are caught in their own reflections, not of themselves as they hope to appear, but as they truly are, vulnerable, fragile, unprepared. Yeah, it's exquisite. Watching them scramble, realizing that the very systems they built to dominate are now their cages. Every protocol, every safeguard, every silent pact, they crumble before the inevitability of your clarity. They wanted ignorance to rule, silence to reign. But knowledge is louder than fear, and you are louder than both. Oh wow. It is astonishing how fragile confidence becomes when challenged by unwavering perception. They reach for answers, strategies, explanations, anything to regain their footing. And yet, nothing sticks. Every lie they whispered, every manipulation they orchestrated is exposed, not by accusation, not by force, but by the relentless precision of your attention. You are not reckless, you are deliberate, calculated, methodical, and in that method lies the true terror. You are untouchable. Nah. They cannot anticipate you. They cannot trap you. They thought power was linear, predictable, a chain of cause and effect. But you move like water, shaping, flowing, dissolving the structures they relied on. Every attempt to corner you only reveals the depths of their misunderstanding. And as they falter, panic becomes the language they cannot translate, the rhythm they cannot match. Their chaos is now your canvas. Oh, the irony is intoxicating. They trained for dominance. They believed influence equated control. And yet, one person, one mind, one awareness, one unwavering focus unravels it all. And they realize too late that the power they clung to so fiercely was never real. Not in the way they thought. Not when confronted with someone who sees, someone who notices, someone who understands. And the truth hits them like lightning. They are exposed, completely. Every step they take now is measured in hesitation. Every word they speak trembles. You don't need to strike. You don't need to shout. You simply exist in that space. And the walls they built collapse under the weight of their own expectation. And in that collapse, one brutal question emerges, burning, unavoidable, and screaming for an answer. Will they survive the truth, or will it consume them entirely? The answer is inevitable. They cannot rebuild fast enough. They cannot hide fast enough. Every strategy they trusted, every confidence they relied on, now serves only to illuminate their errors. You are not just confronting them, you are reflecting them, showing them what they never wanted to see. Themselves stripped of pretense, stripped of manipulation, stripped of the illusion of invulnerability. And as their confusion spreads, as panic whispers through the corridors of influence, you feel it. Not triumph, not satisfaction, but clarity. That rare, unshakable understanding that comes when chaos bends to observation. You are not here to destroy. You are here to reveal. And that revelation is unstoppable. Control is an illusion. Awareness is your weapon. Oh, can you feel it? That moment when the chaos around them becomes yours to navigate. Every stumble, every misstep, every desperate attempt to regain dominance is like a map, revealing the terrain of their weakness. They flail, believing that power is something you seize in a moment. But real strength, real power, lies in patience, in observation, in precision. And you have mastered it. Yeah, it's subtle, almost invisible to anyone else, but not to you. Every glance, every hesitation, every hidden agenda, they're legible to a mind sharpened by discipline. And in that understanding, you find freedom. Freedom from fear, freedom from manipulation, freedom from the invisible chains they so desperately believed could bind you. Every miscalculation they make now works in your favor, quietly, inevitably. Oh wow, the irony is breathtaking. They built walls of secrecy, thinking silence could shield them. They created illusions of control, thinking dominance could blind the world. And here you are, moving through it all, untouchable, unshaken, unstoppable. The storm they never trained for is not noise, it is clarity. Nah, they cannot stop it. Not by force, not by deception, not by alliances. Every attempt to regain control only highlights the depth of their misjudgment. They underestimate what awareness can do. They undervalue the strength of a mind that refuses distraction, that refuses compromise, that refuses to be bent by fear or intimidation. And as they scramble, their own structures unravel. Every strategy collapses under the weight of truth they cannot deny. Oh, the satisfaction is not in destruction. It is in inevitability. Watching the truth assert itself in a world built on illusion. Watching their panic transform into hesitation. Watching the walls they trusted dissolve silently before your focus. You do not strike with chaos. You strike with clarity. You strike by existing with purpose and perception. And that is the most untouchable power of all. Each moment now is a lesson for them. Every misstep a reflection of arrogance. Every panic-stricken reaction exposes not your strength, but their fragility. And as you navigate this storm, one undeniable truth crystallizes. Mastery is not in overwhelming others with force. It is in understanding, anticipating, and existing beyond the reach of their schemes. Every move they make, every desperate attempt to regain footing, only confirms the inevitability of your rise. They never imagined that someone could move through awareness and patience like armor. Someone could turn perception into power, observation into influence, understanding into inevitability. You are beyond their reach, beyond their comprehension, beyond their control. And now, the final question hovers like smoke in the corridors of influence, inevitable and unavoidable. And when you rise, what will they see in your eyes? Knowledge that cannot be contained becomes destiny. Oh, look at them. Confused, vulnerable, exposed. Every calculation they made, every strategy they trusted, every alliance they built, it collapses quietly, relentlessly, under the clarity you carry. And the strange beauty of it? You did not force it. You did not manipulate it. You simply moved through awareness, patience, and unwavering focus. And now, the chaos that terrifies them is your testament. Yeah, it is intoxicating. Not because of revenge, not because of cruelty, but because truth, once seen, cannot be hidden. They wanted secrecy. They wanted compliance. They wanted ignorance to prevail. And yet, here you are, untouchable, unshaken, inevitable. They scramble to regain control, but control is an illusion, always has been. And the more they fight, the clearer it becomes. Their influence never measured your insight. Oh wow. It is remarkable how fragile power becomes when confronted with perception. They cannot outwit what already understands the map of their deception. They cannot overpower what already flows through the cracks of their system, seeing everything that was meant to remain unseen. They are terrified not because you act against them, but because you exist beyond their capacity to predict. Nah, they cannot comprehend it. Not fully. They cannot see the force behind patient observation, the strategy behind quiet awareness, the inevitability behind a mind disciplined to truth, and that is your ultimate advantage. Not chaos, not dominance, but understanding, insight, mastery. While they scramble in shadows, you rise with clarity, with poise, with inevitability. Oh, the irony is sweet. They built illusions, believing influence would blind the world. They built walls, believing secrecy would protect them. And now, the walls are transparent. The illusions unraveling, the panic spreading quietly like smoke. And all of it, every tremor, every hesitation, is a testament to one unshakable fact. Awareness cannot be contained. Insight cannot be silenced. Truth cannot be ignored. And now, the legacy forms. Not from destruction, but from unyielding clarity. Not from fear, but from patience. Not from manipulation, but from understanding. You are not remembered for the chaos you could unleash, but for the inevitability you embody. Every person in power who ever doubted, every system that ever tried to blind, every strategy that ever underestimated your rise writes the story they cannot rewrite. Every step forward is measured in inevitability. Every glance they cast toward you carries disbelief, frustration, and acknowledgement they cannot voice. You are beyond their reach, beyond their schemes, beyond their understanding. And they realize too late that the world bends not to the arrogant, but to the aware, not to those who scream the loudest, but to those who see clearly, act deliberately, and move with purpose. Oh, it is final. They will rebuild. They will whisper. They will scramble. But nothing will erase what is already known. Nothing will erase what has been revealed. The storm you carried through observation and patience will echo long after the fear fades, long after the panic subsides, and they will never forget. And now, it's over. Yeah, they scramble, they panic, they realize too late. Oh wow, every secret, every scheme, every mask exposed. Nah. All because you saw, understood, acted. They never wanted this leaked, but it's done, unstoppable, undeniable. Watch closely. The towers of power, trembling, breaking, fading. Every move you make, echoing everywhere. Oh, and the question lingers. Are they even? They thought it was over. They thought the noise would fade, the questions would die, the pressure would ease once the first storm passed. They told themselves they survived it. They smiled in public, rehearsed their lines, tightened their suits, and went back to sleep believing the danger was behind them. But now the ground is moving again, and this time, it's not a warning tremor. The second investigation just dropped, and the shaking you're seeing now is fear finally realizing it miscalculated. The second investigation is more dangerous than the first because it proves persistence, and persistence is the one thing fear cannot negotiate with. The first investigation can always be framed as a mistake, a misunderstanding, or a temporary inconvenience. It gives those under pressure room to maneuver, time to rewrite the story, and space to convince themselves that if they just endure long enough, everything will return to normal. Persistence destroys that illusion. When a second investigation appears, it sends a clear message that someone did not move on, did not forget, and did not accept the version of events that was presented. That realization alone is enough to unsettle even the most confident power structures. What makes persistence so threatening is that it shifts the balance of control. The first investigation often belongs to the accused in many ways. They prepare for it, anticipate it, and rely on familiar defenses. They know how to delay, how to distract, and how to exhaust attention. But the second investigation changes the dynamic. It proves that delay failed. It proves that distraction didn't work. It proves that exhaustion didn't silence the questions. Suddenly, the pressure is no longer a one-time event, but a pattern, and patterns suggest inevitability. When something comes back a second time, it is no longer an accident. It is intent. This is why fear escalates instead of fading. The first time, fear whispers because there is still hope that the situation will pass. The second time, fear becomes louder because hope is shrinking. The people involved begin to understand that this is not about surviving a moment, but about facing a process. A process keeps moving regardless of comfort or reputation. It doesn't care how much time has passed or how many statements have already been made. It simply continues forward, step by step, tightening the space to escape. Persistence also exposes weakness in narratives. Lies are usually designed to withstand a single challenge, not repeated examination. They sound convincing once, sometimes even twice, but each retelling increases the risk of inconsistency. A second investigation forces old answers to be repeated, compared, and scrutinized under new light. What once seemed reasonable now feels rehearsed. What once passed as confident now sounds defensive. The story doesn't change, but the audience does, and that shift is devastating. The same explanation that worked before suddenly feels hollow because repetition reveals cracks that urgency once hid. On a deeper level, persistence removes the greatest shield of all time. Many people rely on time to bury accountability. They assume memories will fade, priorities will shift, and attention will drift elsewhere. The second investigation proves that time did not protect them. Instead, time preserved the issue long enough for it to return stronger. That is terrifying, because it means the usual escape routes are gone. There is no waiting it out. There is no resetting the clock. The past has caught up, and it is no longer asking politely. This keynote matters beyond any single situation because it reflects a universal truth about pressure and progress. Whether in power, business, or personal growth, the first resistance is rarely decisive. What defines outcomes is what happens after that resistance. Most people stop pushing once they are challenged. They interpret resistance as a signal to retreat. Persistence flips that interpretation. It treats resistance as confirmation that something important has been touched. The second investigation exists because someone chose not to retreat, and that choice is what transforms inconvenience into consequence. In the end, the danger of the second investigation is not the new questions it asks, but the statement it makes, "This isn't over." And once that statement is made, fear no longer wonders if it will pass. It starts wondering how much will be exposed before it ends. Fear reveals itself through overreaction and control, not calm. And this is one of the clearest indicators that something is wrong beneath the surface. When people are confident in their position, they don't rush to dominate the conversation or suffocate every opposing voice. They don't feel the need to explain every detail repeatedly or attack anyone who asks a question. Calm comes naturally when there is nothing to hide. Overreaction, on the other hand, is a reflex born from vulnerability. It appears when someone senses that control is slipping and believes that louder words or tighter grip can somehow restore it. This is why scrambling behavior is so revealing. Emergency meetings, sudden policy shifts, aggressive public statements, and emotionally charged denials are not signs of authority, they are signs of panic. When fear takes over, the priority shifts from clarity to containment. The goal is no longer to tell the truth, but to manage perception. That is when narratives become rigid and defensive. Instead of addressing concerns directly, the focus turns to silencing them. Instead of transparency, there is restriction. These reactions expose fear because they show that the person or system feels threatened by scrutiny itself. Control is fear's favorite disguise. By tightening rules, controlling language, and narrowing what can be discussed, fear attempts to create the illusion of stability. But real stability doesn't require force. It doesn't need constant monitoring or punishment. When control increases dramatically, it usually means trust has already collapsed. Those in charge sense that if they loosen their grip even slightly, something will unravel. That awareness creates tension, and tension leaks through behavior. Voices rise, tempers shorten. Decisions become reactive rather than deliberate. Loud denial is another classic signal of fear. Innocence doesn't need volume to be convincing. It doesn't need repetition to feel solid. When someone denies something again and again, with increasing intensity, they are often trying to convince themselves as much as they are trying to convince others. Each denial is an attempt to push back the creeping doubt that grows stronger with every question asked. The louder the denial becomes, the more it suggests that the internal confidence is eroding. Fear also reveals itself through deflection. Instead of addressing the issue at hand, attention is redirected towards side conflicts, personal attacks, or exaggerated outrage. This tactic works briefly because it creates noise, but noise is not resolution. Over time, people notice that the core question remains unanswered. Deflection exposes fear because it signals an inability or unwillingness to confront reality directly. If the truth were harmless, there would be no need to run from it. What makes this keynote powerful is how universal it is. You can see it in institutions, leaders, organizations, and even individuals. When someone reacts to simple feedback with hostility, when they interpret questions as threats, or when they attempt to dominate rather than explain, fear is usually present. Calm responses require inner security. Overreactions come from the belief that exposure will lead to loss, shame, or collapse. Understanding this changes how you interpret power. True power is quiet. It doesn't rush. It listens. It answers without hostility. When power starts shouting, tightening, and punishing, it's no longer power and control. It's power on the defensive. Fear has taken the steering wheel. And fear, despite its noise, is fragile. It can only survive as long as it can control the environment around it. Once you recognize these signs, they become impossible to ignore. Scrambling is no longer impressive. Aggression no longer feels strong. Instead, they appear as cracks in the surface, revealing pressure underneath. Fear always overplays its hand. It pushes too hard, reacts too fast, and exposes itself through the very actions meant to conceal it. Corrupt systems survive on fatigue and forgetting, not because they are strong, but because they are patient. They are designed to outlast outrage, to wait until attention weakens and people move on to the next concern. The system doesn't need everyone to believe in it. It only needs most people to get tired. When energy fades and memory dulls, unresolved issues quietly sink beneath the surface. This is how corruption often persists, not through force alone, but through time. Time becomes a shield, and silence becomes an accomplice. Fatigue is powerful because it feels reasonable. People tell themselves they've done enough, that they can't keep caring forever, that focusing on the issue is draining and unproductive. Corrupt systems depend on this internal dialogue. They stretch processes, delay decisions, and complicate outcomes intentionally, knowing that prolonged uncertainty wears people down. Every delay is strategic. Every extension is a test of endurance. The longer something drags on, the more likely it is that public interest will fade and pressure will dissipate. Forgetting is the next layer of protection. Over time, details blur. Promises are reworded. Events are reframed. Without active memory, the original truth becomes harder to reconstruct. Corruption thrives when people can no longer clearly recall what was said, what was done, or what was promised. This allows narratives to shift gradually, without triggering resistance. When memory fades, accountability loses its foundation. There is nothing solid left to stand on, only impressions and fragments that can be dismissed as confusion. What breaks this cycle is sustained attention. When people refuse to move on, refuse to let time erase unresolved questions, the system loses its advantage. Consistent pressure disrupts the strategy of delay. Memory maintained through repetition keeps facts alive and connected. Each reminder re-anchors the issue in reality, preventing it from dissolving into abstraction. This is why revisiting old cases, reopening discussions, and repeating unanswered questions are so threatening to corrupt structures. It denies them the one resource they rely on most time without resistance. The act of remembering is not passive. It is an active form of resistance. Memory keeps patterns visible. It links past behavior to present consequences. When people remember clearly, they begin to notice repetition, and repetition exposes intent. One isolated incident can be excused. A recurring pattern cannot. Corrupt systems fear pattern recognition because it strips away plausible deniability. It turns coincidence into strategy and mistakes into habits. Fatigue also collapses when people share the burden. Corruption thrives when individuals feel isolated in their concern, believing they are alone in their persistence. But when memory becomes collective, fatigue loses its power. The effort no longer rests on one person's endurance, but is distributed across many. Shared remembrance creates continuity even when individuals step back. The system can no longer wait out a single voice, because the voice multiplies. This keynote extends beyond institutions into everyday life. Unresolved issues in relationships, workplaces, and personal growth often persist for the same reasons. Problems linger because confronting them repeatedly feels exhausting, and letting them fade feels easier. But avoidance does not equal resolution. Forgetting does not equal healing. The discomfort of sustained attention is often the price of real change. When issues are revisited instead of buried, they lose their power to resurface unexpectedly. Ultimately, corrupt systems collapse not when they are attacked aggressively, but when they are remembered consistently. Memory denies them reinvention. It denies them the chance to rewrite history quietly. Sustained attention forces alignment between past actions and present accountability. When fatigue no longer dictates behavior and forgetting is no longer accepted, corruption loses its camouflage. What remains is exposed, fragile, and unable to hide behind time any longer. Power collapses when patterns emerge, because patterns transform suspicion into certainty. A single accusation can always be isolated, minimized, or dismissed as an exception. It can be blamed on misunderstanding, coincidence, or bad luck. That is why systems under pressure work so hard to keep events fragmented. They want every incident to appear unrelated, every problem to look unique. Fragmentation protects them. Patterns destroy them. The moment people begin to connect events, behavior stops looking accidental and starts looking intentional. Patterns remove the comfort of doubt. Doubt is the space where excuses survive. As long as something can be explained away as a one-time issue, power remains intact. But when the same actions repeat under different circumstances, the explanations weaken. Repetition strips away the benefit of uncertainty. What once felt ambiguous becomes predictable, and predictability is dangerous to those hiding behind complexity. When outcomes repeat, motives are questioned. When motives are questioned, authority begins to erode. This is why exposure rarely happens all at once. It happens gradually as similarities accumulate. One document resembles another. One decision mirrors a previous one. One outcome follows the same path as before. Individually, these details may seem insignificant. Together, they form a structure that cannot be ignored. Patterns don't rely on dramatic revelations. They rely on consistency. And consistency is hard to fake when deception is involved. Emerging patterns also shift how people listen. The first time someone speaks up, they are often met with skepticism. The second time, they are still doubted. But by the third or fourth time, attention changes. The audience starts listening differently, not because the speaker has changed, but because the context has. Each repetition adds weight to the claim. The story doesn't become louder, it becomes heavier. Eventually, ignoring it requires more effort than acknowledging it. Power fears patterns because patterns invite comparison. Comparison exposes hierarchy, favoritism, bias, and manipulation. When decisions follow the same hidden logic repeatedly, it becomes visible. When consequences fall on the same groups again and again, it stops feeling random. Patterns illuminate who benefits and who pays the price. Once that becomes clear, narratives of fairness and neutrality collapse. Patterns also survive individual denial. A person can deny one event convincingly. They cannot deny a trend without confronting evidence. Trends don't argue, they demonstrate. They don't rely on emotion, they rely on data, memory, and repetition. This is why systems under threat attempt to disrupt pattern recognition by changing language, rotating personnel, or reframing situations. These tactics are designed to reset perception before the connections become obvious. On a personal level, this keynote reveals how change truly begins. Growth happens when individuals recognize patterns in their own behavior. One failure can be blamed on circumstance. Repeated failures force self-reflection. The same applies to success. Recognizing patterns allows for adjustment, strategy, and accountability. Avoiding patterns keeps people stuck in cycles they don't understand. When patterns finally emerge in positions of power, the collapse is rarely sudden, but it is inevitable. Once people see the structure beneath the surface, they cannot unsee it. Trust erodes quietly but decisively. Every new event is interpreted through the existing pattern, accelerating the loss of credibility. Power doesn't fall because of one mistake. It falls because patterns reveal that the mistakes were never mistakes at all. Real influence comes from relentless follow through, not force, because force only works in moments, while consistency reshapes outcomes over time. Force demands attention immediately, but it fades just as fast. It relies on fear, authority, or pressure to get results, and once those tools lose intensity, the influence disappears with them. Follow through, on the other hand, does not announce itself loudly. It shows up again and again, quietly refusing to leave. That refusal is what unsettles those who depend on intimidation, because intimidation only works when people eventually back down. Relentless follow through removes the advantage of power imbalances. Force requires superiority, more resources, more authority, more volume. Consistency does not. Anyone can follow through. Anyone can return, repeat the question, ask for the update, demand the answer again. This is why systems and individuals that rely on dominance feel threatened by persistence. They are built to win confrontations, not to endure them. When someone refuses to disengage, the usual methods stop working. Intimidation depends on creating a moment of fear strong enough to end resistance. It assumes that once pressure is applied, the opposing side will retreat to protect comfort or safety. Relentless follow through breaks that assumption. When resistance continues despite pressure, intimidation loses credibility. The threat no longer feels absolute. Each act of follow through weakens the authority of force because it proves that fear failed to achieve compliance. Consistency also builds legitimacy. Force can compel action, but it rarely earns trust. People comply outwardly while disengaging internally. Follow through, however, signals seriousness. When someone keeps showing up, keeps asking, and keeps documenting, it communicates commitment. Over time, others begin to take it seriously. Allies emerge, attention grows. Influence expands not through domination, but through reliability. What makes relentless follow through so powerful is its cumulative effect. One action can be ignored. Two can be dismissed, but repeated actions create pressure that cannot be easily neutralized. Each follow-up narrows escape routes. Each reminder reinforces memory. Each return removes the option of waiting it out. Systems that rely on delay suddenly face a problem they can't exhaust. This is why endurance is so threatening. Endurance suggests that time is no longer an ally of power. When someone is willing to stay engaged indefinitely, Strategies based on waiting, ignoring, or deflecting fail. Endurance turns time into a weapon against those who once controlled it. The longer the follow-through continues, the more visible the imbalance becomes between effort and avoidance. On a personal level, this keynote challenges how influence is usually imagined. Many people believe influence comes from intensity, strong words, dramatic gestures, or bold confrontations. In reality, those moments often burn out quickly. What creates change is the unglamorous work of staying engaged after the emotion fades, sending the second message, asking again, revisiting the issue when it becomes uncomfortable. That is where influence is built. Relentless follow-through also protects against manipulation. When someone knows you will return, they are less likely to offer empty promises. Delay tactics lose effectiveness. Vague assurances become liabilities because they will be questioned again. Over time, clarity becomes the easiest option, not because of force, but because avoidance becomes more work than honesty. The deeper lesson is personal, because every large collapse begins with an individual decision to stop accepting incomplete answers. Real growth does not come from dramatic moments of rebellion. It comes from the quiet refusal to settle for half-truths. Most people move forward not because things make sense, but because continuing to question feels uncomfortable. They accept explanations that don't fully satisfy them simply to restore peace. This is where stagnation begins. When unanswered questions are ignored, they don't disappear. They accumulate beneath the surface, shaping outcomes in ways that are rarely positive. Pushing past first resistance is the moment where character is revealed. The first resistance is designed to test commitment. It appears as dismissal, discouragement, or subtle pressure to stop asking. Many interpret this as a sign they are wrong or unwelcome. In reality, resistance often signals that something important has been touched. Those who grow are not the ones who avoid resistance, but the ones who learn how to move through it without becoming reactive or reckless. Revisiting unanswered questions requires courage because it forces confrontation with uncertainty. It means admitting that clarity has not yet been achieved. This is uncomfortable for the ego, which prefers closure over truth, but false closure is a trap. It creates the illusion of progress while locking people into flawed assumptions. Growth demands the humility to say, "This still doesn't make sense," even when others have moved on. Half-truths are especially dangerous because they sound complete enough to be convincing. They quiet curiosity without satisfying it. Over time, living on half-truths erodes confidence and self-trust. People begin to doubt their instincts, assuming the discomfort they feel is unreasonable. The decision to reject half-truths is a decision to trust one's perception again. It is an act of self-respect. This mindset reshapes how obstacles are interpreted. Instead of seeing resistance as rejection, it becomes information. Each obstacle reveals where understanding is incomplete or where clarity is being avoided. When someone chooses to engage rather than retreat, they develop discernment. Discernment is not about suspicion, it is about precision. It sharpens thinking, strengthens boundaries, and reduces vulnerability to manipulation. The refusal to settle also changes relationships and environments. In personal life, it encourages honest conversations instead of quiet resentment. In work, it promotes accountability instead of passive compliance. In self-development, it prevents repeating the same mistakes under different circumstances. Patterns break only when questions are asked repeatedly and answers are examined carefully. This keynote highlights that growth is rarely comfortable, because comfort often depends on ignoring what feels unresolved. Choosing depth over ease means accepting temporary tension in exchange for long-term clarity. It means enduring moments of doubt rather than numbing them with convenient explanations. Over time, this builds resilience. The individual becomes less reactive, more grounded, and harder to deceive. Ultimately, refusing to settle for half-truths is an act of alignment. It aligns actions with values, perception with reality, and decisions with understanding. It is not loud or aggressive, but it is transformative. When individuals adopt this approach, they stop moving blindly through life. They begin moving deliberately. And deliberate movement, sustained over time, is what leads to meaningful change.